Good morning. It must be Wednesday because my nose is running. Good morning, Bliss Collective. Happy Hump Day. It's a Hump Day morning, and you know it's Hump Day because here I am speaking to you live. I'm very excited when I do these live videos because I want you to have an experience of me that isn't just a post, me typing in, or me responding to a comment. I first want to say that I'm really grateful to be here and that I'm really grateful that you're here. And I would love it if there are more of you who could join me on these live experiences on Wednesday mornings. And I'm going to be announcing later this week our next live group gathering, which I'll try to do. Well, I won't try. I will do it in the evening, and hopefully more of you can join me and we can do a Q&A call and a kind of get to know each other call and just hang out a little. Yes, it'll be on Zoom, so it won't be the absolute best, but absolute best is really what we make of it anyway. So we're going to go for it. So anyway, I'm Valerie Shepard, founder and CEO of the Bliss Collective, which is a project of my company, the Hartley Center for Mindfulness and Self-Mastery. I'm a self-mastery specialist. Self-mastery is mastering you in your life so that you can exquisitely manage whatever your life brings your way. That's a key. Exquisitely manage whatever life brings your way. So not everything that life brings us is the stuff of fairy tales, right? It's not our dreams. It's not our deepest desires. There's stuff that happens, and but life is more than making the best of it. We hear all the time, I'm really good at taking lemons and making lemonade. That's a phrase that people say a lot that is about dealing with the stuff that life brings us. Another one that people say is that, life is ish and then you die. Like, no, it's not. Or, hey, it doesn't have to be. And so here in the Bliss Collective, it's all about, like, how do I do that? How do I do that part that is stuff is showing up and I'm stuck with the stuff and it's not what I want. It's not by my design. And nonetheless, here it is. New mug today. Gift from a friend. It's not the stuff, but nonetheless, here it is. And that's kind of the topic today. Hump Day Happy Chat today is coping with the bittersweet. Coping with the bittersweet. And this came up from the dynamics going on yesterday. And yesterday was an historic day, especially if you are like me, a soul incarnated into a black body, right? So this black body has an experience that can be, often is, among millions, radically different. In many ways, radically less than souls incarnated into other bodies on the color ladder. That's a whole nother conversation, the color ladder. I encourage and invite you to check it out. There's a lot to be said for bliss and how one experiences bliss and creates the blissful feeling when we're living inside an infrastructure, a man-made infrastructure, a human-made infrastructure that doesn't honor all of humanity. And how does that happen? And how do we have our bliss even while we go about changing it? Even while we go about changing it. Hi there. I see you. Thank you so much for joining. I wonder if I can never click on and find out who that is. Who dat? Who dat? Type in the type in the comments, please, so I can see who dat. Who dat? Okay, so thank you so much for being here. I love having somebody like hanging in there with me live. So this thing about like life and like creating bliss in the midst of what's happening, like what's going on. So a lot of people have this false idea around bliss that it's just something that comes over you. You're just sitting there and there it is. It just wafts over you like a wave and then it's gone. Or that you can pick it, like pluck it out of certain things that are happening, certain places you go, certain things you do, certain understandings you have. And that's not really it. So first of all, it's already in there, right? The blissful aspect of you is not in the land far away or after you have a certain number of or certain kind of experience. It's much deeper than that. It's with you and available to you all the time, at all times. And remember, all of it, you are the driver of your experiences. And what that means is how you define your experiences, like how you define them, good, bad, or ugly, is really not a factor of the experiences themselves. That's not a factor because, and here's how you know, because one person will have the exact same experience and say it's good, and the other person will have the exact same experience and say it's bad. So that tells you right there, it's not the experience. It's something about each person and the way they experience it, their perception of what they actually experienced. You've probably experienced this when you've gone to the movie with a friend and you come out and you're arguing about the same scene that you saw. It's your vantage point. That's a really good movie for exploring the concept of vantage point. It's old, but it's one of the best I've seen for that very specific who saw what when and how come we saw the same thing, and your description of it, your experience from it is way different than what I saw and what I felt and what I heard. Your vantage point. So that's an indication. Good morning. Thanks for jumping on. That's an indication. Please type in the chat that you're here so I know who's here. That's an indication that you are in the driver's seat. Your world is exactly as you tell yourself it is. As you tell yourself it is. When I was really little, I bet many people have had this experience. When I was young, my mom, if I ever fell down and hurt myself, and you probably see parents do this with young kids now, they fall down and hurt themselves, parents might laugh, they might make light of it, they pick the kid up, brush him off really quickly. You're okay, you're okay, you're okay. Part of that's because we're not good at experiencing other people's distress. We'll need to table that conversation and talk about it another day because that's not helping that person or you. So part of it is we aren't comfortable dealing with other people's distress. We don't know what to do. We don't know what to say. We're at a loss. And so we try to make them get through it really quickly. Oh, you're okay. No worries. No worries. It's okay. But that's an example of my world is as I tell myself it is. So help the child feel better about what just happened. Falling, dropping their ice cream, losing their toy. One of mine was, there's a beautiful picture of me. It's famous in my family. A picture of me when we were going to Toys for Tots. My dad was a Marine, career Marine. And there's no such thing as was with Marines. My dad is a career Marine. And we're going to Toys for Tots, and there's a picture of little me. I think I was like 6 or 7, taking a toy, and I had to reach up to get it in the Toys for Tots bin. And I'm looking back at my mom and dad with the most profound scowl. Like, I'm supposed to feel good about this? I'm giving away a toy when I want a toy. And of course, Toys for Tots are new toys, so it wasn't my toy, but I didn't want to give it away. I wanted that toy for myself. But so the experience of it wasn't that great for me. And so my world is as I tell it myself it is. And I can tell myself positive things around anchoring myself in a story that is harnessed by universal laws, activated by universal laws, and then created as I want. Created inherently in the good zone, in the peaceful zone, in the grace-filled zone, in the light zone, generously abundant, loving, adventurous, all those things we might want. But we are in the driver's seat. Our interpretations, and our interpretations are coming from our backgrounds, our conditioning, our conditioned patterns of interpretation, discernment, all those things are contributing. And today, there may be a collective energy of feeling bittersweet, a feeling of bittersweet. I heard that a lot yesterday. And as I thought about what to share today, it felt like a really fertile place to be. Bittersweet, I love words, so I always look them up to make sure that even my interpretation is correct. So the adjective form, actually there is a noun form of bittersweet. It's a plant. You can look that up and go see. I think it has little orange flowers. But the adjective form of bittersweet is a flavor of sweet with a bitter aftertaste. Flavor of sweet with a bitter aftertaste. Now, we probably all have had these experiences, and yesterday marked a very major one for millions of people around the globe. Millions of people around the globe were anchored in the bittersweet nature of yesterday. Not everyone may have experienced it the same way. The way I experienced it, yesterday the verdict was announced in the trial of former police officer Derek Chauvin for the murder of George Floyd. Internationally known episode because of a 9-minute video of the actual life flowing out of a man's body. Derek Chauvin was convicted on all 3 counts. Millions of Black people and their allies around the world probably let out a collective sigh. If they're anything like me, their shoulders dropped and they let out a collective sigh of relief. The result, this trial result, was historic, marking a radical shift for the moment. We'll see how long it goes on, but a radical shift in that moment for accountability related to destroying life incarnated into a Black body. The verdicts reflected, perhaps for the first time in history in this country of the United States, a greater level of acknowledgement of the humanity of life in a Black body. The humanity of life in a body that looks like mine. Lighter shade, darker shade, whatever. But in this body. A melanin-skinned body. At the same time. So for many people who couldn't even hope, that's what was, there was some bittersweetness in that for me. It felt dangerous to even hope that there would be accountability for what we saw play out on over and over in that video. That there would actually be accountability. That was like, wow. And at the same time, the verdicts don't change what is. Like, they can't bring the life back to life. At the same time, there is an empty space, and there will forever be an empty space in this realm where the soul of George Floyd was expressed and experienced and loved and cherished. And it's the same with the losses from COVID-19 in the midst of the vaccine rollout. Like vaccine, yay, we can stem the tide of illness and death. And yet, already, way too many people have died. Recovering from a catastrophic situation, catastrophic illness, or a natural disaster. Hallelujah, it's not as bad as it could be. Hallelujah, I'm still here. And yet, so there's the sweetness, and then there's that bitter remembrance of, and still, there's this loss. There was this suffering. I feel this regret. I feel this sadness. I feel this energy in my heart that feels painful. Again, that's an interpretation of the feeling. And it's real. And it warrants acknowledgement. And so what do you do with it? What do you do with it? If you don't want to turn into all the bitterness, even though there's a little sweetness, how do you do this in a collective where we're all about bliss? So number one thing we don't do is pretend like the bitterness isn't there. This is not about what people call a spiritual bypass. This collective is about real bliss, not faked bliss or made up bliss, where we turn away from things that feel uncomfortable or distressing. We turn away from that 9-minute video because we just can't stand to see that. No, we actually turn toward it. And we say, my love is big enough. My love is a big enough container for whatever is showing up. And that's not mine. That's a dear friend of mine who I spent the last week in I said I was facilitating a workshop on unconscious bias, transforming that, helping people awaken to their bias, and how profound that we ended the workshop right when they were announcing on TV that it would be moments before the verdict would be announced. So we said our loving farewells, and I ran to my TV and stayed there for quite a while, listening to the coverage, watching things in Minneapolis. So this was my friend Jill. Shouting out to you, Jill. Mwah. I love this. My love is big enough, is big enough to hold someone's distress, is big enough to hold the aspects of life that don't look really great to me, aren't what I want to live in, while I'm watching someone die, to be grateful that I'm not there. My soul isn't in that body. To be grateful for that and to not feel bad about it. So we don't just pretend like there isn't some bitter in what's going on. It's not about pretending. So the first thing we do, what do? The first thing is to breathe. Breathe. What I notice is when I said, millions of black people around the world let out a collective exhale, I was being real, like true. The collective exhale. I exhaled, like when the judge started with the papers, I could feel the tenseness in my shoulders. I don't know what you felt. The tenseness in my shoulders of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, please, please, please. Like just willing it to be something I could handle. Not exactly what I wanted. It wasn't up to me, but something I could bear, I could deal with, I could figure my way through. And then you have to remember to breathe. When you breathe, when you exhale, don't you feel the body doing a collective relax? Do it with me now. Take a big inhale. Notice the shoulders come up and the exhale. When you're in fight, flight, or freeze, it's a natural response. The body is preparing. Something's in the limbic brain. It's been triggered. Your body's preparing so that you can either fight, get away from me, get away from me. You can run, gotta get away from that, gotta get away from that. Or you can freeze, don't see me, don't see me, don't see me. Think about animals in the wild. That's what's going on. Another thing that we might do that I learned in this workshop that I was facilitating from my co-facilitator, Dr. Gans Ferentz, there's a fourth one, which is fawn. We try to make nice. We try to make you like us. Like, that's part of the energy, and your shoulders go up and you're in a hold position. So the first thing is to let go of the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. And just be in the moment. Be where you are. Be. Capital B-E. Stop doing. Just be. Breathe can be the doingness, but just being. Notice that breathing is autonomic. It just happens. That's part of being. You don't have to actually make yourself breathe. Then feel your feelings. Like flow them so that they don't get stuck. Flow. Oh my God, I feel relief. Oh my God, I'm so upset. Oh my gosh. Flow the feelings. Allow yourself to feel them. If you want to go deeper into feelings, you might want to notice where you feel them in your body. I feel a constriction in my chest. I feel a tingling at the back of my neck. I feel tenseness and all over. Like you want to come into relationship, right relationship with your feelings, your emotions. They're just waves of energy. They're nothing to be afraid of. They're nothing to beat up. They're just waves of energy. When you come into right relationship with them, they can leave. They don't have to stick around. The third thing is perhaps the most important. Go to forgiveness. Go to forgiveness. Go to forgiveness. Why forgiveness? Because it's clearing space for more sweet. It's clearing the bitter. It's allowing the bitter to recede. The more we do forgiveness, which is for us, not for them, the more I do forgiveness around situations. So the more forgiveness I offer to this former police officer for the traumatized experience of watching this death unfold, the more forgiveness I give to people who I feel harm Earth, harm others, harm me, the more forgiveness I give myself for when I harm me, when I harm others. The more space that energy moves, and the more space there is for sweetness to unfold, sweetness to be experienced. It's the container. It's like the washing of your container. To be the love. My love is big enough to hold this situation, to hold these people. My love is big enough. My love is big enough to hold this. Comes from clearing the container of all the not love that might be in there. All the regret, all the loss, all the sadness, all the resentment, all the guilt, all the shame, all the blame. To wash it with forgiveness creates the space for greater love to erupt, for greater love to unfold, for greater love to be experienced, for greater love to be expressed. And when we express love through universal laws of reflection and attraction and karma, we can only get more love back. So cleaning out my container of the bitter to allow the sweetness to be more prominent blesses me with more sweetness in my life. So once we forgive, and we may have to do this over and over in an ongoing way, over and over in an ongoing way, make a commitment, forgive something every day. Forgive yourself, forgive others, forgive like you breathe. Then we get to regroup or rewire or re-energize or re-look at or reevaluate or rethink. We get a chance to, this is where I think last week we were talking about Mulligans, or there was a previous one about Mulligans. You can look at all the Hump Day Happy Chats on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Valerie Shepherd. mulligan. We got a do-over. What are we going to do? So what happens next? It's the so what, now what, okay? So now what? We saw some humanity happen in our legal system for this one case in this one city involving this one policeman and this one horrible situation. Now what? What is mine to do on the individual level? What is mine to do as a part of a collective? And having cleaned out the bitter, I can actually engage in what it is I want to do from a higher vibration. This is the Bliss Collective, living a high vibe life. So as I let go of the bitter in the bittersweet, I can engage my life more from the sweetness. I can claim sweetness. I can bless over every aspect of my life that there is sweetness here, and I am a container that's big enough to hold all the sweetness my life has to offer me. Yes. And then lastly, always, the only thing we might do more than forgiveness is gratitude. Go to gratitude. When the going gets tough, get going into gratitude. Gratitude is the way that you remember the sweet. It's the way that you look for the gift inside the bitter. Going to gratitude is how you keep your heart pure and open and ready to receive more love, more joy, and you create the space of emotional freedom inside you so that you can express yourself into your life in the most magnificent ways. Thank you. That is today's Hump Day Happy Chat. I always close the Happy Chat with the prayer of loving kindness from the Buddha, the Karanaya Metta Sutra. It's also known as the Metta Prayer. Please practice this. Say it. It may free you at moments when you really need it. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings awaken to the light of their true nature, which is love. May all beings awaken to the light of their true nature, and may all beings be free. Yay, I'm Valerie Shepard from the Hartley Center for Mindfulness and Self-Mastery. Thank you so much for joining me for this Hump Day Happy Chat. Many blessings.